Yo, what's going on, good people? It's your boy Theslykrow creeping in with another video, and we got some news here from Meta, and apparently Meta is shutting down its games division by shutting down Armature Studio, SoundCloud Games, and also Twisted Pixel. And apparently, SoundCloud Games was working on a Batman Arkham Shadow sequel, so this is just disappointing news here from Meta. And really goes to show that the VR gaming industry is definitely cooked, with Meta. And Meta has actually been the forefront of bringing VR gaming to the mainstream audience. When we talk about the Meta Quest 3, the Meta Quest 2, and the Meta Quest 3 here, they're really subsidizing the hardware just to make their consumer base join into this ecosystem. And with the amazing Batman Arkham Shadow, this really moved the Meta Quest 3S units. So it's just sad to see that these studios are being closed because of profitability concerns. What I'm saying? Like, Meta right now, their focus is on the AI investments. So this is why they're shutting down these studios. And it's just unfortunate to see that VR gaming continues to bleed in the profitability. It's just really disappointing, man. Like, especially with the quality of the games that they're trying to push out. It just seems that the overall consensus is that the mainstream doesn't like VR games, doesn't like to invest their money into VR games or consume their money in VR games. So reading this excerpt from Gametsu, we have Twisted Metal and Armature Studio were acquired by Meta in October 2022, and SoundCloud Games was acquired back in February 2020. And so we have Armature Studio developed the virtual reality port of Resident Evil 4, which was published by Meta Oculus Studios, but launched before the company's acquisition. It did not release any games after the acquisition. It was also known for Batman Arkham Origins and Blackgate. SoundCloud Games developed Asgard's Wrath and a sequel, Asgard's Wrath 2. But it was also known for its era of Sony Interactive published games like Secret Agent Clank and Sly Collection and Sly Cooper. Okay, so we have the Armature Studio who made the Arkham Origins VR game, and that was widely received. And SoundCloud was actually the one who did Asgard's Wrath and Asgard's Wrath 2. So yeah, this is just a disappointment here. And we also have Twisted Pixel, who developed the recent Deadpool VR, and apparently that had some good reviews as well. So for me, I do like to dabble into the Reddit just to see what the overall consensus of the Meta Quest community is saying. And apparently, from gauging what the community is saying, it seems that the majority of its user base are kids. And we have the common complaint that when they do play the free-to-play offerings such as Ready Player One or Gorilla Tag, it seems that there's a lot of complaints of kids screaming on the mics. So that's definitely a problem there. You know what I'm saying? So I do feel that the kids make up the majority of the Meta Quest ecosystem. And so we have them on the VR chat, Gorilla Tag, and other free-to-play offerings. And the problem is that the majority of the kids, they will not buy those marquee titles like the Batman Arkham VR, Deadpool VR, and Asgard's Wrath, etc. And when you consider that the AAA VR titles are $50 a pop, there's a big issue there with the return to investment. People are not spending that much on the platform, and we have a huge issue there. So this brings us to the harsh reality that is VR gaming. VR gaming has never really took off like it is with console gaming. So that's definitely the harsh reality. It is the facts of the fact. Like, that's the fact of the matter. And to have Meta lock down VR titles onto one platform, that's definitely a low blow, man. That's not gonna work in this market. Like, why would you lock exclusive VR games onto one platform? That's just a death sentence right there in an already super niche market. And the other thing I want to talk about this as well is that I do believe that AAA VR games won't be as popular in a standalone headset. When you take in the fact that majority of the casuals on this platform would rather pay $20 to $25 or below, for majority of the gaming likes there, because they want to just have a simple experience, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and then drop the headset. It's just a pick up and play kind of thing. So I don't think that investing heavily into VR exclusives is a winning formula. I think that's where they messed up here. So let's circle back to the main topic and say to ourselves, is VR gaming really dead? And for my opinion, I don't think it is. We had Sony, they tried to dabble into the VR market, and the VR headset has been selling okay. It's not that bad. I think it's around 5 million units at this point. But where I think VR has the biggest impact is on the Steam platform. When we look at majority of the titles, majority of the titles do have about 50,000 plus reviews here. We had Half-Life Alyx, which has 60,000 reviews. We also have Blade and Sorcery Nomad. This has 50,000 reviews, and others there. So I think that the Steam community has the biggest impact for the VR success. And also when you take in the fact that Valve is also working on a standalone streaming headset, which I think will be pretty popular there. We'll see what the cost ends up being, but I do have some high hopes for the Steam Frame headset. And so I don't think, for me personally, I don't think VR gaming is dead, but having exclusives on a standalone headset, that ain't it, bro, in this market. So that's all I have to say about this one. Are you guys interested in VR gaming? Let me know your thoughts on this matter down below. And this is your boy Theslykrow. Catch you on the next one. Peace.